Richard, man, big fight. Your pound. I just want to tell you, I got a lot of heat. You called Mikey Garcia the pound for pound king. Terrence Crawford team reached out to me. They was like, "Tell Richard Schaefer, Terrence."
No. It is. Look, I mean, it's a matter of opinion. There's no. It's like, you know, it's not like a carved in stone ranking. But I have to tell you, if you really look at the quality of opponents, you look at the number of fights, you look on how he solves these puzzles, where he fights guys with different attitudes. Like this weekend, a much taller guy, a much lankier, longer reach guy. How is he going to deal with that? How he's making great opponents look average. That is pound for pound stuff, and that is Mikey Garcia. And you know, maybe I'm his biggest fan, but you know, usually I'm pretty darn right when it comes to these kind of predictions. Like I told everybody many years ago that Floyd Mayweather will be the new pay-per-view star and he will break any and all records, and people were laughing at me and they said, yeah, right, it's never going to happen. And look what happened. He didn't just break them, he shattered them. And if I say today that it will be Mikey Garcia who is going to break these records, probably people are going to laugh at it again. But you watch and see, that's how good Mikey Garcia is. But I don't want to look ahead because this weekend is a tough test. I think it's the biggest test, literally as well, for Mikey Garcia. He never fought anybody as skilled, as tall, with the kind of reach, undefeated, young, in the prime, world champion, a guy who's been waiting for that fight, for that exact fight. So it's going to be, it's you know, Mikey knows he's going to have to be at his best to beat Robert Easter, because we will see the best Robert Easter come Saturday night.
A lot of media members are saying Mikey Garcia is looking past this to get to the Errol Spence fight. Can you speak to that?
Well, I have to tell you, I was reading today before I came here, I was reading some stories and so on, and I saw a number of headlines popping up. Mikey Garcia is serious about wanting Errol Spence. And I had a little bit that reaction as well. And when I went to go and see Mikey last week, I reminded him, I said, you know, be focused, because you cannot look on what's next. You've got to always look on what's ahead of you. Now, Mikey is a pro. As I said, almost 40 fights. This is not the first time. So I think he is focused. I think he knows what it takes to beat Robert Easter. But you know, if you go into a fight overconfident and you're already looking too far ahead and you focus too much on your next opponent, suddenly things don't turn out the way you think they would. So am I a little bit worried about that? Yes, I am.
What was his response when you told him that?
Oh, don't worry, I got it. You know, I know what I'm doing. They're asking me about other fighters, and I'm answering their questions. And so he was he's very confident going into the fight. But I know so is Robert Easter, and it's going to be a fascinating fight. I think it's going to be a fight because of the two styles. Both guys like to fight. I think it's going to be a fight which picks up right where Mars and Santa Cruz left off, trading punches in the middle of the ring. I think it's going to be another one of those Fight of the Year candidates. And usually when you do a fight at Staples Center, you do get these kind of just unbelievable fights, and I can't wait.
Now, Robert Easter is coming in as the IBF World Champion, and I'm not sure, have you followed him on social media?
Yes.
Robert Easter?
Yes.
And he's really committed to this fight. It seemed like he has like tablets on his wall, July 28th. Mikey Garcia's easy work. Basically, he's been saying that Mikey Garcia's easy work. Can you talk about just the mindset? You know you have a dog in this race, so can we talk about the mindset of a fighter that's all in on the fight? Like Floyd Canelo, Floyd Oscar, Oscar Floyd. You understand?
Well, you know, Robert Easter has only one thing in his mind, and that is to win on Saturday night against Mikey Garcia. He doesn't engage. What if, what then, what's next, and so on. And again, he's been waiting for that moment. Some people judge him on his last performance, and that's a dangerous thing to do. Because when you are that kind of quality fighter, You live for these big moments. You train extra hard. You go the extra mile. This is what you've been working on all your life as a young kid, growing up, going through the amateur system. You know, in his case, going to the Olympics, going, go through all of this. Why? Why you put in all these sacrifices? Why you went through that as a young boy, going through this process for this kind of fights, for that kind of fight, where you can challenge the pound for pound best fighter, or some might say maybe number 2 or number 3, but clearly one of the best fighters in the world, and you have an opportunity to go for that, and you've been waiting for that. So I know there was no cutting corners, there was no like cutting training short for Robert Easter. He has been waiting for this, and he will be ready, and it will not be an easy night for Mikey Garcia. You can mark my word.
Now, change shifts a little bit. You came into the boxing game flashy. You fed us steak. You fed us upper echelon. There's another guy that came to America. Now, I'll be real. Like, you hook us up big time. And I'm not kissing your ass. I'm being real. There's another guy that came across the pond. He had an unveiling.
Yes.
What was your impression of his unveiling of the zone and his lineup and his fighters he signed?
I wasn't invited, so I don't know what kind of food he served. But in the end, it's not really about the food you serve at the press conference. It's the food you serve to the fight fans at home, asking them to pay $10 a month for a subscription service where you want to showcase your talent. So I think the success starts and ends with the quality of talent you are able to attract. And I know when the flashy announcement came, there were a lot of big names mentioned, and I leave it up to you and your viewers, the audience out there, to sort of like rate where on a scale 1 to 10, where would you say he ranks relating to the talent he was able to attract as of now. And you can tell me, I don't need to do
mediocre.
that. Mediocre. I think some things I would have done different already. Like, for example, if I do a card in Chicago and I do a week later a card in Los Angeles, I probably would have put, I would have put the guy who actually is from LA, Jesse Vargas, I probably would have put him in LA instead of Chicago. But so be it. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. And as I said before, I wish him nothing but the best, and time will tell. I have to say, the Zone was able to attract a terrific TV product, which I think is today probably one of the most compelling, if not the most compelling, TV boxing product, and that is the World Boxing Super Series. They had a huge event a week ago in Russia. It was
you were there, right?
The whole world embraced the tournament. The whole world is excited about the next season, and for the Zone to obtain the US TV rights is quite a coup. And so it's about building, and I think it's too early to really say whether this is going to be a success or if it's going to be a failure. As a fight fan, first and foremost, I do hope they succeed. I do hope they're going to give us great content and great fights. And as a promoter who is very much pro-fighter, it's a great time to be a fighter, because suddenly you have all these platforms competing for your talent. And it was very different a few years ago, but now you have everybody chasing talent, and what happens, who benefits from that, is the talent, the fighters. They're starting to make some serious money, and you know what? Good for them.
And it seems like Anthony Joshua here in America is under a lot of scrutiny. Some may say, me as a media member, I say they may be marketing him, doing him wrong. What's your opinion on how they're moving Anthony Joshua in terms of broadening his base into American market versus, and this him not taking the Deontay Wilder fight, not allowing him in the ring? What's your take on that?
Well, look, I personally think that I mean, there's a reason why the biggest fights in the history of the sport have taken place in the United States, more particularly in Las Vegas. There's a pattern, and there's a pattern that the biggest heavyweight fights have taken place in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is and still always will be the fight capital of the world. Granted, you might not have 60, 70, 80, 90,000 people watching it live from the Wembley Stadium. I get that. But in the end, it's not really about whether you have 20,000 people watching as a live audience in Las Vegas, or if you have 90,000 watching as a live audience at the Wembley Stadium, because this is not how you become the global superstar. Otherwise, Floyd Mayweather, who fought all of his big fights, huge fights, the biggest fights in Las Vegas, would have never become the biggest star in the sport, the biggest star in any sport, the highest paid athlete in any sport. How did he do it? He fought in Las Vegas. He became the face of the sport, the face of sports, period. A global superstar. And I think if you're the heavyweight champion, you are sort of like, you're like the ambassador of the sport.
Absolutely.
And you're not really the world champion like the Klitschko's. Fantastic fighters, great fighters, nice guys as well, but they were not really world champions. They were the champions of Germany. And so I believe when you want to be a world champion, you need to fight in the world. You cannot just sort of like be at home and have you fighting in front of 90,000 people be it, you know. This was an opportunity for Anthony Joshua to go to Las Vegas, fight Deontay Wilder in a place which is known as the capital of the sport, the capital of boxing, and own, if he would beat Deontay Wilder, own the US market in one shot and become truly the heavyweight champion of the world. And in the process by doing so, probably making an additional $30 or so million at least by doing so, by fighting in the United States. And for them, when I mean them, whether if it's Anthony or his promoter or all of them, for them to sort of like take the view, well, we owe it to the British public to fight here in the UK, and we're pretty happy fighting in the UK in front of 90,000 people. I don't want to minimize that because it's a great achievement, but this is not how you become the face of the sport and how you become the ambassador of the sport of boxing like Floyd did.
Now I gotta ask you, at minimum, just at face value, he's given away $50 million. Have you ever in your life as a big time promoter seen a fighter give away an allowance of money and then look back and say, damn, we blew
well,
that,
you know,
that check?
With the exception of one, I always felt like you need to do the big fights when they're ready to be made. And with the exception of one fight, I was able to always get the big fights done. Unfortunately, you know, if you have two fighters who want to truly get the fight done, you find a way to get it done. Usually fights don't get done if one side is really not that committed. And at that particular time, that fight failed to deliver at the time. The fight happened afterwards without my involvement, and that was Mayweather and Pacquiao. So I wish I would have been able to deliver that fight. I think it was like 3-4 years before it actually happened, but for many reasons it didn't. But
Pacquiao turned down an advance of $25 million. If I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. Yeah. So usually when you talk numbers in that ballpark, you know, people come to their senses and they agree to do a particular fight. As a fight fan, again, I do hope, and in the end of the day, I'm not the promoter of either one, so I don't really have a horse in the race here. I do hope as a fight fan that the fight happens, be it in the UK or be it in Las Vegas, and I think it would be a silly thing if it doesn't happen. We almost were at the verge this year again. As great as the sport is, and as great as we have so many fights now happening, and so much activity in the sport, unification fights, and so much good stuff going on, we were almost at the verge again where the sport couldn't deliver the two biggest fights which can be made in the sport, and that is Golovkin and Canelo and Joshua and Wilder. thank God we're going to get one of them, Golovkin and Canelo, and I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Mikey Garcia might be mad. You didn't mention Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence.
Well, you know, we'll see. I don't really want to talk too much. I don't really want to talk too much about it. We'll talk about that.
Appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate you.